somehow y'all are the ones that are uncomfortable. That guilt, no, y'all are just allergic to accountability.
Big facts, because what is anybody even asking of them other than to admit what actually happened in history? Stop trying to downplay it, whitewash it, or pretty it up. Slavery was horrific, and so were all those years after it, leading up to civil rights, where people were still getting lynched and set on fire. How hard is it to be like, yeah, my bad, you know what, my people did benefit from free labor for 400 years?
Anytime somebody brings up the truth, y'all start glitching. Imagine then crying because somebody names the harm.
That's exactly it. They're the bully and the victim. They will bully as much as they want until it stops working, and then all of a sudden when they get called out or reality hits them, then they're the victim. You're attacking me. You're being mean. Oh, that's racist. You're being racist against me. It's a psychosis.
Y'all aren't being attacked. You're being told the truth. Call it whatever makes you sleep at night.
Well, for me, I don't even feel like we need to have them admit or say sorry for what the people in the past did. It's not their job to say sorry. No reality. It's not their job to say sorry you can't just walk up to a random white person on the street and be like, hey, where's my apology? Welcome to Ranting with Rich, and we're back with another episode. Today, we're going to be reviewing Jew Almighty's Racists Are Melting Down Over Accountability. I've been wanting to touch on this topic for quite some time now because it seems as though white people are tired of people blaming them for stuff that their ancestors may have done. They don't understand that they may have benefited from those things even to this day. But anyway, let's jump into this video and see what Jew has to say.
Apparently, white folks have had enough, and they're finally over feeling guilty about the past.
I'm just over this white guilt, white shame type stuff. I'm not advocating for white supremacy. I'm just advocating the end of white silence and the end of white guilt and the end of white shame.
Which was highlighted when the richest man in the world, also a very public racist, who grew up in apartheid South Africa and does not see salutes in his spare time.
Thank you.
Actually tweeted publicly on the platform that he owns, no more white guilt, in a tweet that now has over...
Elon Musk is a scourge on the earth. Honestly, Elon Musk is causing more damage to all the different populations of the earth than anyone else is. It seems as though every week Elon Musk is putting out a different type of tweet that would cause more rage and anger towards different minority communities, particularly Black. And it's like, what are you trying to accomplish from this, Elon? This whole idea of this ending white guilt thing, I'm going to let this video play some more, but I have so much more I want to say on this.
22 million views. But if you're like me, then you're probably a little puzzled by that tweet and the post that it was responding to. White guilt is dead, and Gen Z is done apologizing for history they didn't write. All caps is unnecessary. And you're probably wondering, did I miss something? Because I'm still trying to figure out their outrage myself. White people have never felt guilty or shown accountability for anything they did involving Black people.
I kept hearing white people talk about white guilt, and I was genuinely confused at first. Like, what guilt? White people don't feel guilty about a damn thing.
Whether that was slavery, Jim Crow, segregation.
They don't feel guilty about anything. What it is that it's something internalized in them. They think that we dislike them because of what happened in the past. They think that being proud of their race would make us upset in some type of way, and it doesn't. The thing that do upset us and that do bother us is that white pride often comes with the persecution of others. It's never like, hey, I'm proud of being white. It's always, I'm proud of being white, and you guys are no good, and you guys need to be controlled in some manner, or you guys, we need to take your resources from you, or you guys are savages, we're sophisticated. That's the issue. No one cares if you're proud of being white, and no one's blaming you for slavery. No one's blaming Sally or Sue or Billy or Bob who are living in 2025 for slavery. What we are upset about is the fact that you guys are maintaining a system that has been created to keep us down and keep minorities down. And it's always at the benefit of white people. It's always at the benefit of mediocre white people at that, because Blacks and minorities have to work 10 times as hard to get to the places that they get to. And you often hear, because of DEI or whatever it may be, that you often hear, oh, this person took my job. And it's like, how was it your job? What level of entitlement do you have to get to feel as though, because you are white, that it was your job in the first place? It's those type of things that we're upset about. But you don't have any reason to be guilty for being white. You shouldn't have any guilt for being white. You're just white. And it is what it is. You're a human. And honestly, I don't know who's taught you guys that you should be guilty for being white, Who said that? Who was the person who said you should feel guilty for being white? And whoever did say that, what authority do they hold in your life that you felt as though you needed to abide by that or live by that?
Redlining, systematic racism, discrimination, mass incarceration, or just straight up racism that we see or experience every day.
I'm not inciting violence. When they chimp out, I call them a chimp. Shut up, dumbass.
But all of a sudden, they're done apologizing to us, and there's a call to action for white people to be loud, proud, and unapologetic racists.
That's really what the movement's about. You call them to their face and you go about your day-to-day life. This is America. You're not going to starve me. You're not going to kill me.
As if they weren't already.
White man, fight back! White man, fight back! White man, fight back!
And all of this fake outrage about ever having to feel guilty again, which they never did. It's so dramatic and fake because when white people are called out for their atrocities that they committed against black people in this country, they either downplay the severity or impacts of slavery, racism, and discrimination.
Slavery wasn't that bad. Trump is absolutely right. He didn't say slavery wasn't bad. He said it wasn't that bad.
They ate people. They ate people thinking that they were gang superpowers. They fed children to alligators for sport. They raped other men's wives. They raped men. They skinned people, turned them into shoes, bags, wallets, and furniture.
Or have a racist crash out proving racism is still alive and well. And when all of that bullying and rage doesn't...
You know what I find crazy? I find it crazy when you hear white people talk about how violent black people are, and you look throughout history, and not saying that there wasn't tribalism in other times and that there weren't people killing people amongst different ethnic groups. Totally understand that. But I've often said that nothing has killed more people on earth than Christianity and mosquitoes. And Christianity is often seen as a driving factor in white supremacy or something that upholds white supremacy. And if Christianity itself is there to uphold white supremacy, but it's also what has probably caused the most deaths throughout human history outside of like natural disease and, you know, how is it that black people can be viewed as the most violent? If you look up majority of wars throughout history, like wars that are documented, if you look up majority of genocides that have occurred, if you look up the extremes of slavery and the extremes as far as when I say the extremes, I mean the extremes as far as punishments that were enacted upon slaves, especially during the time of chattel slavery in America. And you look at all that, and then after slavery, you look at segregation and Jim Crow laws. You look at apartheid in South Africa. You look at King Leopold and what he did during the rubber plantations or whatnot. And you wonder to yourself, let's not even forget the Holocaust. And you wonder to yourself, how is it that this group of people who are known for being the greatest conquerors in history can turn around and then look at a group that they decided to marginalize and look at a group that they decided to essentially shatter any real chances of them ever having any real economic power and wealth in the world, because they have their hands in every country, and then tell you that you're the violent one. And their means of obtaining this power was through violence, extreme violence at that. How does that work? And how is it that no one ever bats an eye and ever thinks about that when they're making these statements and making these TikTok videos and making these tweets?
Get the f out of here, you stupid fucking
They then accuse black people of being racist, playing the victim, or having a victim mentality when they themselves are playing victim. But here we are, all of a sudden, white people are being told to no longer feel guilt for their oppression of black and brown people, and not to apologize for racism.
How many more times is it my fault? Is it my grandkids' fault too? Is it my grandkids' fault too?
Your fault. Yeah.
It is? I mean, I'm just saying generationally.
Even if white guilt was real, which I don't think it is, your solution to white guilt is just to be more racist and further establish why you should have been guilty in the first place.
White guilt is a creation of white consciousness and a battle within white consciousness. It's your brain in a state of cognitive dissonance. You get really angry and you go, no, 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 no. I can't be ashamed. They want me to be ashamed. They are lying. They are wrong. And what they're trying to do is break our history, break my family, break my success.
But I'm Jew. Welcome to the channel. Please like and share the video. Don't forget to sub. Now, let's get into
I
it.
hurt some feelings, but whatever. I was just scrolling through my feed and I saw a couple of posts about how white people have no culture. And I'm just over this white guilt, white shame type stuff. I'm not advocating for white supremacy. I'm just advocating the end of white silence and the end of white guilt and the end of white shame. Because
I kept hearing white people talk about white guilt, and I was genuinely confused at first. Like, what guilt?
I said the same thing. What are we talking about? What guilt?
White people don't feel guilty about a damn thing. They will colonize, steal, rewrite the history books, claim they don't see color, and still paint themselves as the victim. Then it hit me. The thing they keep calling white guilt, that shaky, uncomfortable feeling, that little twitch in their spirit when somebody tells the truth, that ain't guilt. That's what the rest of us call accountability.
That's their conscience kicking in.
The world stops coddling them and starts correcting them. Oh, suddenly it's guilt. Suddenly it's oppression. Suddenly I feel attacked. No, nobody's attacking you. We're all just finally telling the truth without whispering. It's like
Right.
how generations have endured slavery, lynchings, genocide, segregation, medical experimentation, stolen lands, stolen cultures.
That medical experimentation doesn't get talked about enough. All the crazy stuff that they did to black people.
They operated on people without anesthesia just to see their reaction.
Stolen labor, and somehow y'all are the ones that are uncomfortable. That guilt, no, y'all are just.
When you think about the experiments that they conducted on black people and people of color, you have to wonder to yourself, why is it that no one views these people as sadistic or maybe psychotic in some way? Like, the level of cruelty that you have to want to engage in those acts, and the level of cruelty that you have to be aware that someone is doing these things, even if you didn't do it yourself. To be aware that someone was doing these things and you supported it. You even funded it. Like, let's say the different bankers that had money involved in people conducting the experiments that Hitler scientists were conducting. The Tuskegee experiments that the government was involved in. It goes to show what James Baldwin meant when he stated that the black man is always in a state of rage, pretty much, in America. It's like someone is smacking you in the face and then asking you, why did you hit them on a daily basis? Even the videos where they're saying, stop being a victim, as they're being victims while having every single privilege that can be granted to someone. The highest form of socialism occurred for white people. And for them to now state that they're against socialism and they're against things being provided to them, even recently with the bailouts for farmers, that is socialism. And these things don't connect with these people because what they vote for is not even about policies. It's not about making their lives better or making their children's lives better. They're literally voting to hurt other people. This idea that now they're not going to stand for this and they're not going to have this guilt anymore. Who is telling you should be guilty? Name the black person that has approached you and said, you really should allow this for me because of slavery. I don't even think that makes any sense. I don't think anybody's ever said anything like that. No one's blaming you directly for what your ancestors did. Whatever guilt you're experiencing, that's just on you.
Allergic to accountability.
Big facts, because what is anybody even asking of them other than to admit what actually happened in history? Stop trying to downplay it, whitewash it, or pretty it up. Slavery was horrific, and so were all those years after it, leading up to civil rights, where people were still getting lynched and set on fire. How hard is it to be like, yeah, my bad, you know what, my people did benefit from free labor for 400 years?
Anytime somebody brings up the truth, y'all start glitching. Imagine doing then crying because somebody names the harm.
That's exactly it. They're the bully and the victim. They will bully as much as they want until it stops working, and then all of a sudden when they get called out or reality hits them, then they're the victim. You're attacking me. You're being mean. Oh, that's racist. You're being racist against me. It's a psychosis.
Y'all aren't being attacked. You're being told the truth. Call it whatever makes you sleep at night.
Well, for me, I don't even feel like we need to have them admit or say sorry for what the people in the past did. It's not their job to say sorry. No reality. It's not their job to say sorry you can't just walk up to a random white person on the street and be like, hey, where's my apology? That doesn't make any sense. And I'm sure that's not what Drew's saying. But I think what he is speaking to is when we mention the damage that has been caused to the Black community from systemic racism and laws that are created to hold us back. When we speak about those, or when we mention them as a counter to seeing different false allegations and false statements being made about us, that's when he's actually speaking about. When we mention those things, people often have cognitive dissonance, or they seem to like get upset at hearing the truth. It's just weird to me where adult white women will have children that they raise, and they'll teach them certain values and things about being honest and taking accountability. And when you do something wrong, you man up and you take accountability for these things. And you teach all these different things, but then you also raise them to believe that a group of people are good for nothing and can accomplish nothing, but also at the same time are fully aware of the lie that you're teaching your child. And yet you turn around and say, Black people are the most violent. It just doesn't add up.
But the rest of us know exactly what it is. You're not used to the consequences of your own history knocking at your door.
White guilt? Nah, you mean accountability. Even when they're growing up, they either have white privilege or they get bailed out of every consequence imaginable. We live in such a crazy timeline. Nothing is normal. Things that should matter don't matter anymore. 5, 10, 15 years ago, none of this would be normal. Could you imagine if the richest man in the world was still Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, and they tweeted no more white guilt, or I guess for them because they're old, made a statement in an interview and said no more white guilt? People should be more shocked and more outraged that the richest man in the world is tweeting out racist stuff. Just look how racist this whole entire thread is. All of it. It's just racist. This is the richest man in the world who was working with the federal government for the better half of a year. 2015, you're a racist. Wait, what? 2025, you're a racist. Fuck off. I think that works better for us than it does them, right? Because it proves that they were racist the whole time. They were hiding it the whole time. Because now, 10 years later, the same people that probably pretended not to be racist.
I don't think people understand the danger of Elon Musk. He can skew the political landscape for many countries all over the world. I'm genuinely scared of what this man can accomplish because of the level of power he has. Why does anyone need to have as much money as he does? And when someone like that has so much money, he shouldn't be able to lobby in any government at all. The amount of money that this man has and the amount of technology that he's involved in that governments are actually using, he is the most dangerous man in the world right now.
Racists are now saying they don't give a fuck, and they are racist. So what? Good for us. Look at this. They have whole propaganda pages. That is just crazy. White people never felt guilt in their entire existence. Exactly. All this white guilt they're talking about, I've never seen it or experienced it. These are the same people that grow up with white privilege, but they can't even imagine how far back Black people would be set by something like slavery or civil rights or discrimination, anything. But it doesn't matter because they're over feeling guilty about it. When he says things like no more white guilt, it's not just about the past. He's saying no more white guilt for shit that they want to do now. I agree with that, right? If they all program each other into just believing that they don't have to feel guilty for anything that they say or do race-wise, then you could see how they carry that into the future. Just unapologetic racists. So this is interesting. It's actually an analysis on white guilt, what white guilt actually is. It is accountability and that uncomfortable feeling that they know they, their family, their ancestors, society has wronged somebody, and they can't admit it.
What people call white guilt is often just discomfort when confronting racism. Framing this as guilt makes it seem like an excessive or unreasonable emotional burden. And it also presents white people as the victims instead of the actual victims as victims.
Imagine being racist and benefiting from racism your whole life, and then when someone brings it up, you're like, oh no, I feel attacked. You're trying to make me feel white guilt.
What people call white guilt is often just discomfort when confronting racism. Framing this as guilt makes it seem like an excessive or unreasonable emotional burden. And it also presents white people as the victims instead of the actual victims as victims.
That pretty much explains white and black people in America right now. They're actually tweeting out stuff like this. It's insane to me that these people will constantly attack white people and then act baffled when white people stop having sympathy for them. These are people that intentionally oppress black people even after slavery. Not sure if you're aware, but you attacked, enslaved, lynched, Jim Crow'd, redlined black people for hundreds of years. No one is baffled by your depravity and wickedness. The only thing surprising is you playing the victim after all the harm you've done. And I think
that was well said. Shout out to the cake lady at Got Cake. She definitely broke that down very well. It's very similar to what I mentioned, where you created victims, and now when those victims, through all the hardship, are in a place where they can actually speak up now and they can actually compete with you. Now when they speak up and say, hey, we made it, and despite all the bullshit that you're saying and the lies that you're saying, here we are on the same level playing field as you guys. And you guys take that as an attack when we mention all the things we had to go through to get to a perception of being able to compete with you guys. We understand that the income for a white household and a black household is vastly different in America. However, the fact that we have a household income that is rising, it shows the determination and perseverance of black people and minorities in this country. I do want to ask one thing though. All those people that are making those posts, this guy Half Tangible, the guy with the mustache, Shiloh, Hendrix, even the woman that they called a mud shark. I don't even know what that, but I know what it is now. But what have black people done to you? The guy who wrote this Half Tangible, what did he experience? A tweet? Did he experience someone like the guys who will see a post of black people at a party having a good time, and then they write, oh, black fatigue or some other BS. The white guy with the mustache who goes and looks for black people to antagonize while he got his piece on him just in case. So that way he had the right to shoot somebody, though he went and antagonized that person, and will probably get away with it because of his skin color. What's causing this obsession? What's making you want to wake up every day and make a video about black and white relations? What's making you want to decide, I want to hate on these people for whatever reason I can think of? Perfect example of the level of obsession that you guys have, saying the N-word. How much you feel the need that you have to say it. How much it's a go-to word for you guys, as if it's gonna like make us melt or something like that. Like, we don't care. Congratulations, you said that. Now, are you happy? What level of joy do you get from saying that word? Those are the same people who will turn around and be like, I'm not gonna feel guilty for what my ancestors did, but then you continue to perpetuate that racism by responding with racist words and by giving fake stats to prove why your ancestors did what they did. So what are you defending? You're agreeing with them at the end of the day.
That's the point, that these people even think that they get to play the victim now because they don't want to talk about something. When they were the oppressors and beneficiaries from racism the entire time we've been in this country.
You can literally find white guilt back to this nation's foundation. Founding father Thomas Jefferson, who was both a slave owner but somebody who considered himself to be an abolitionist, once said, "There is not a man on this earth who would sacrifice more than I would to relieve us from this heavy reproach. We have the wolf by the ear, and we can neither hold him nor safely let him go. Justice is in one scale and self-preservation in the other." Basically, that quote is Thomas Jefferson lamenting his own guilt and sadness in the horrors of slavery, but his own fear of letting it go in turn of what might happen to him. White guilt is a creation of white consciousness and a battle within white consciousness. It's your brain in a state of cognitive dissonance that if what people like me are saying is true, then how do you cope with the reality that the values you were raised on and the narrative you've been told is all a lie?
I mean, he's summing up everything that I've been saying with the whole cognitive dissonance, like how you're raised and the things that you are taught, and you find out that all the things you were taught were a lie. You raise your kids on these things and it's all lies. All of it is lies. And something that I've seen recently is that I can't remember whose video it was on YouTube, but pretty much they expressed that white people have actually caused more people in their population to be mediocre because of the laws that they've created and the handouts that they provided to the white community over time. Because minorities had to struggle and fight for everything that they got, they have now learned to excel and can face any obstacle and overcome it. Meanwhile, white people are getting mad at simple things that Blacks and Hispanics would look at as a walk in the park. As a result of them creating all these obstacles, but creating a smooth path and an easy path for their own, it's actually led to them being less capable than others now. If you make things easy for one group of people, but make it 10 times harder for another group to get to where that group who had it easy are, when they get to that place, they have way more skills and are more capable of handling obstacles and things that are thrown their way compared to the ones that never had to endure any of that.
Your success, your ancestors' success is marked in the blood and the bones of my people.
I think that whole argument, it was my ancestors. What do you want me to do about it? It's so lame because how hard is it to acknowledge that slavery happened, it was brutal, horrific, and your ancestors were monsters, and that white society as a whole benefited from slavery and the oppression of black people for hundreds of years. But that wouldn't happen because they would have to look in the mirror as white people and really acknowledge that where they are in life is not because they pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and worked hard. They are the beneficiaries of white privilege passed down since slavery.
People were oppressed. How many more times is it my fault? Is it my grandkids' fault too? Is it my grandkids' fault too?
Your fault.
Yeah. It is? I mean, I'm saying I'm just saying generationally, I understand it's about equality and like, hey, these certain people were oppressed.
But there lies the problem. There was never accountability on the white side. They built the system, the federal government, to benefit them, to reward them, while hurting the black community or keeping us barred from things that we should have been allowed to participate in, like buying houses before we were allowed to. Not to mention redlining, where they told you where you could and couldn't live. If there was a general acknowledgement and racism was no longer alive, and white people addressed systemic racism against black people. But until any of that is acknowledged or addressed, it ain't like, oh, it ain't my fault no more. You're still benefiting from a society that rewards white privilege.
You can fucking look it up in anywhere and it's not, no one's denying it. I'm just saying, like,
there is a lot of denial when it comes to slavery, a lot of downplaying, a lot of whitewashing, again, so that they don't feel guilty or accountable. So they can say, oh, it's not as bad as they're saying it was. It was 100 times worse.
You know, it's crazy, white guilt as a concept, right? Because it doesn't exist. And if it did exist, you would be seeing white people actively trying to redo the oppressive and systemic systems that were built against black people.
That's the point. If white guilt did exist and white people ever felt guilty or took accountability, then they would have destroyed the systematic racism and oppression that black people are still dealing with today. The world is crazy for sure. We are seeing white people lash out and be racist because they were asked to acknowledge and be accountable for slavery and all the benefits that white people have received since then.
Shout out to Drew Almighty. That video definitely was a topic that I've been wanting to touch on for quite some time now. In all reality, it does suck that we live in a country that seems to be repeating history right now. And I think that it's very possible for them to repeat history when they're trying to remove all the history that proves that this happened before. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and all the billionaires that are kind of funding everything that's going on, the Supreme Court who's allowing Trump to do the thing that he's doing, they understand that the only way for white people to maintain the majority in this country, and the only way to maintain this idea of white supremacy, is to hold down others. We're living a crazy time right now, and I don't know what can be done to change it, but something has to be done. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please like, subscribe, and share, and check out my next video, all right?